Okay, hi everybody, it's Dennis. I was thinking today about my wife loves IPA beer, and wherever we go, she usually gets a new one. So, what I was thinking about was 20 years ago, the term IPA in the real estate business didn't mean anything about beer. It was a phrase that people used when they were first starting to build teams, and it stood for income producing activity. And my wife and I sold 2,500 houses in 20 years before Zillow and before big teams and before a lot of the stuff that people use to get into big numbers now, and made millions of dollars in little Northwest Ohio. But the reason that we did, and the most important part of that story that I wanted to share with you today, is because we focused on IPA, income producing activity. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday nights for 2 hours from 5 until 7 o'clock, my job was to find someone who was interested in selling their home and ask them for the opportunity to talk with them for a little while in their house. Now, it worked. Obviously, it worked. Oh, and for 2 hours on Saturday as well, total of 10 hours a week. And it always produced a tremendous amount of money. And the reason was because it was a really, really well-paying job, okay? Most people, if you're in this business right now and you're doing your own admin work, you're making about $15 an hour, because that is what that's the value society places on that activity. And the difference between people who make $500 an hour in our business and $15 an hour is they simply focus on income producing activity. So here's the rules if you're going to do this. You schedule it from 5 to 7 or 1 to 3 or whatever you decide to do. You make that time what we call, for lack of a better term, sacred. And what that means is that you don't schedule over it for any reason. If you wanted to list your $600,000 house with me on Wednesday night, I would be glad to do that at 7:30, and I would be glad to do that at 4 o'clock. But if you told me that you wanted me at your house at 6:30 no matter what, this is important, I'm not coming, okay? And the reason that I'm not coming is because that time was so important to me and to my career that I knew if I started scheduling over it, I would continue to do so. And I had to make that time absolute. So from 5 until 7, I wasn't allowed to answer my phone, I wasn't allowed to do any emails, I wasn't allowed to do anything other than try to get in somebody's house. Here's the closing thought. 70% of the people who buy or sell a house today only talk to one realtor. And it's usually either their friend in the business or the first person who shows up in the dining room at their house. So if you follow these simple principles, you'll make a ton of money doing this. I'll give you some quick numbers. If 10 hours a week, you're going to get one listing. In our area right now, that would get you about $4,500. It would get you way north of $200,000 a year, probably more like $220,000. And that's just the beginning of the money. That doesn't count the double dips, the triple dips, the referrals, the guy down the street who tells you that he wants to sell his house because you've sold Tom's house. And if you do the math and you work your way back through that, at 10 hours a week, if you're making $200,000 a year, plus all the numbers I just mentioned, trust me when I tell you, you're making well over $500 an hour, not 15. And this is how I led my life for 20 years, and I wanted to share it with you, and I hope you find it helpful. Thank you.